Okay, so here we go with first build for the new year, 2023. And we're going to take a look at the Revell VW New Beetle in their Revell Easy Click system, 35 parts. So, why do this? Well, you may recall a little while back I did an open kit review on this. I picked this up because the Easy Click system is something I had not worked with before, and I thought it would be interesting to see. Basically, it's a snap kit, but I thought it'd be interesting to see with modern tooling and modern kit design how well a snap kit would, one, go together, and two, what kind of a final product you would have. Now, 2 points to this. First, I remember way back when I was much younger. It's like 40 years ago in the 70s. There were snap kits back then, but usually there was a clear step down in the quality of the parts. The fit wasn't always so great, and they looked, or tended to look, more toy-ish than a regular paint and glue assembly model. So what I wanted to see, like I said just before, was now with modern day tooling and whatnot for building a model and designing a kit, how one of these would build up. And it's the VW New Beetle, which is a pretty interesting machine. Second thing I wanted to do with this, now that it's the new year. Well, hello there. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for watching. But I thought this would be a nice build to kick off the new year, because I was thinking, well, people after Christmas, they get their gift cards, want to start something new, whatever the case may be. Maybe there is an interest to start with the hobby, and, looking at it as someone not familiar with anything, getting into model building, I guess, can be somewhat daunting, because you walk into a hobby shop and there's just shelves and shelves of kits, and what do you pick, where do you start? And to me, as someone in the hobby, my biggest concern would be that someone take a kit that they're not really ready to build with, get frustrated with it, and feel like, forget it, I can't do this. Those of us who do this, and certainly if you're doing it as well, you can probably relate to the idea of, no one sat down and taught you really how to develop your skills in the hobby. It's trial and error. You buy a kit, you give it a go, and you learn what you learn along the way, and then you try something else. And as you go through and you get more confident in what you're doing, blah, 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 on and on. So, to that point, with this one, what I'm going to do, we'll take a look at the parts. And my goal with this is to see what I can get out of it doing as little as possible. So, not going to go crazy with painting or detailing. I'm going to try to approach this as someone doing their first build ever in the hobby, and see what happens with it. So that said, I'm going to put the bots around here. We could take another view. What's nice, this is a built model. They give you the parts breakdown here. And then on the back, one thing I really love with these Revell Germany kits, the boxes, they always show you a completed kit on the back, which I really enjoy, because, and again, one of the reasons why I picked this kit for this type of build video is, if you've never done something like this, it's nice to be able to look at the back of the box and get an idea of, what you can do with the kit, how you can build it to look. So, and, get to see some of the interior detail and whatnot. Okay, so let's move on and take a look at some instructions. Now, again, we'll make the assumption this is your first time looking at a kit. So you have a nice instruction booklet here. And when you open it up, first thing you run into are these papers. What do we have here? These are some safety instructions. So I'm not going to go through those, but if it's your first time building, certainly would not hurt to take a look. And then we come across 2 decal sheets. Now this I thought was pretty neat because there we go. 2 identical decal sheets. Water slide on this one and self-adhesive on this one. So if you're not comfortable doing water slide or you've never done water slide before, you have the option to do self-adhesive, peel, stick, and off you go. Obviously, as you get more comfortable with the hobby, the water slides will give you a better result, but they do take a little practice to get comfortable doing them. Nice that the kit gives you both. So if you are just starting out, you can go this route. If you have some experience, you can go this route. So we'll set those aside and we'll get back to looking at our instructions. So they give you some basic tips here. They give you explanations of what all the symbols mean throughout the instructions. We get a list of the colors that you can add to the kit. So you can go through. You don't necessarily need to paint, but when we take a look at the parts, you'll see more to that end in a moment. But they give you the parts layout with their numbers. So if you need to find something, these are called sprue maps. They're basically representations of the part sprues with the numbers. The rest of the parts in the kit. Then we go into our instructions step by step. Now with these Revell Germany instructions, you notice you get your color callouts. We have decal callouts here to walk you right through. They show the parts, the part numbers, how they assemble. These booklets are nice because they don't do too many things in one step. So it's not like you're going to run into a situation where you're not really sure what's going on or what you should be doing. You just follow through one by one, and there you go. Moving on to now, because it's only 35 parts, we're going to finish assembly in 18 steps, nice and straightforward. And then they give you a guide on the back for the decals, whether you use the water slide or the self-adhesive. So those are your instructions. So let's start looking at some parts. So we will start with our underbody pan. So one nice slab of plastic, front suspension, rear suspension, exhaust, everything is already in there. It's all molded in. It even has a little texture to it. The mold relief is really nice on this. There's a lot here. If you want to start painting, a lot of detail you can pick up. Now you will notice these 2 big holes. This will screw into the body. The final assembly of the kit, that's how it will be held together. So that is that. Next up, we'll take a look. This is your interior, and you can see here this as well is nicely molded. We even have some fabric texture to the seats, to the floor, cup holders. There's nice detail in that interior that will then sit on top of the underbody. To complete the interior, we have, these are called door cards. So this is the inside of the door. These will mount inside the chassis, the interior tub, to lend in, there we go, to lend in that detail. And here too, if you want, you can go in and do a little detail painting. We have our rear seat, our front seats, seat backs, all nicely molded. Again, we have some fabric detail. We have our shifter, so that's looking good. To round out our interior, we have our nice dashboard, which, no matter what level of modeling you are up to, you can appreciate that's a nicely molded unit. Then we have our central cluster with our main gauge, our control stalks, and then a steering wheel, and it even has the little VW logo molded in the middle. How about that? All right, now our car wouldn't be going anywhere without some wheels. Now, what I was really happy to see with this kit, these are not shiny chrome, which would not be realistic. These have like a dulled down alloy finish to them, so they look more like a brushed aluminum. And this big piece will be the insert for our headlights. On the back, it is black, which we would need anyway on the back of our wheels. But these two, you can see on there, really nice detail, well molded. We'll get our wheels without our tires. They are solid, but you can see there they have a nice tread pattern to them. They even have on the tire, they have logos, branding molded in. These are Michelin's. Nice stuff. We have our little extra parts bag. We have clear red for the taillights, so we don't have to worry about coloring those. 2 metal shafts, so the car will sit on that. The wheels will press in on that. Screws to hold it together. It looks like they even give you a few extra in case some go flying. We have, and I'm going to leave this in the bag so it doesn't get scratched up. You can see this is our front windshield, side windows, rear window, and then we have our headlights here. So one piece that will just press into the body and it will be ready to go. We have 2 little side mirrors that will go on the body. Now, one of the things I didn't point out going through each step, but I like to point out here, if you look at where the attachments are, you're not going to see those cut marks. There is the one attachment on the bottom, but you know that will be on the bottom of the side mirror, so that will also be somewhat out of view. So those are nice. And then perhaps the most important thing, we have our body. Now, this really impressed me when I unpacked the kit, because the mold quality one I find to be very good. Looking at it, there is very little flash. There are some seams here. You may notice these are called parting lines. Now, when you get a little bit deeper into the hobby, you may be inclined to sand those down because on a real car, they would not be there. However, on this kit, the way the seam line runs, it's really not that noticeable. I don't see that being a problem at all. But what really caught my eye is the quality of the color molding into this plastic. Now, what you may notice if you've watched other build videos, my channel, other people's channel, whatever, a lot of kits, everything is molded in either a neutral gray or a white, or maybe like a pale beige color, because the understanding is you're painting everything. This being an easy click kit and something that's geared a little bit more for people new to the hobby, it is already molded in color for you. Now you could go ahead and paint it if you want, but again, the idea is you don't have to. And you know, if you're going to do something with the body where you don't want people to feel obligated to paint it, then the color rendering on the plastic better be good. And Revell did a really nice job with this. I'm hoping the camera can capture this, but what you may see is that there is a somewhat almost like metallic flake in the blue of the car, which is nice. I mean, it's really nice. We have our mold detail of the windshield wipers sitting in there, but this, I'm just going to leave this as it is. The only thing I might do to it is just put on a clear coat, and I'll show that later in the video. Although you can see from the way it's capturing the light, it has quite a nice shine on it already. But there is a little blemish on the roof here, which a clear coat will cover up. And since clear coating can be done relatively simply without being a big involved thing, we will go through that in one simple step. So there we have it. The Revell VW New Beetle in Easy Click. Now, there are a number of kits that Revell has in this Easy Click system. Some of them are less than 20 parts. They're really simple. Some of them have more parts. In fact, I have another one, a VW Camper, which is just over 100 parts, and it has opening doors. It's what you would consider a well detailed and functional kit for even a glue assembly model. So I look forward to doing that one as well. But for now, we're going to jump into this Beetle. So I am going to have a few JPEGs of the box art, and then we will get into doing some very simple preliminary detail work, and then we'll get into putting this little guy together. Beetle power. All right. At this point, I just want to say, as always, thank you for watching. If you appreciate the video, if it helps you out, please do consider subscribing, liking, sharing, hit that alert button so you can see other videos that I post. But most of all, thank you for watching. I do these things to help, share the enjoyment of the hobby and help people get into it. That's why I call it practical plastic. So try to keep things simple so that you can get a nice result out of your work. So that said, off we go. Okay, so here we are, painting. I wanted to jump in here just to talk about a few of the things I've been doing. Now, since the idea of this video was what you could do with this kit if it was, say, your first kit, I I have in fact tried to keep things at a minimum, which guided some of the things I've done because it guided what I did in terms of paint selection. Now, what I did here, even though I did add the white to it and the panel liner, which were not originally out there, this is just thinner, but I looked at these colors as the basics of what you would need no matter what you're building. Cars, planes, ships, you name it, you'll always need silver, you'll always need semi-gloss black, you'll always need flat black, gray always comes in handy, and so does white. So that would be as a starter, like your first set of colors that you could use. I threw in the panel liner because even though you could do the kit without it, the panel liner does give you the ability to do some things that you simply cannot do with paint. And that was in the way I was able to detail these wheels, and you could see just how easy it is to use, and now they look way better than they did before. So even though I tried to gear this towards, a first-time builder's experience, as you can tell, I could not resist doing just a few little extra things, nothing big or crazy or complicated. Some of the detail painting, this was nothing ornate or excessively challenging. In fact, all the painting I did here, it really wasn't about, a steady hand or anything with the brush. It was really just about paint control, making sure you don't have too much paint on the brush. And as long as you're going with minimal paint on the brush, you can do all of these things. Certainly, when it comes time to do things like this little metallic silver outline detail I did for where the shifter will go, and as well the vents on the dashboard. Now, because of the way lighting works with the camera, it may be hard to tell that the slats remained black, but they are all black in there, and that was just from coming in the way I did. And that's basically just a dry brush technique, which is, not coming in pointy like you were writing, but to come really flat. I often refer to it in my build videos as 90 degrees off center, and just dabbing. And I showed when I did this, I actually got some paint on the brush and then went on the paper towel, got most of the paint off, because I just want that little bit of pigment to come off the brush and pick up those details. If you come in with too much, the paint by capillary action, surface tension is actually going to draw down into the detail that you're trying not to fill, and you'll end up with a solid finished product instead of one with detail. Now, a few other little things that I tried to show, like for doing these reflectors on the doors, you have to think sometimes of your final appearance may require two different things. So I did the silver first, and then came in with just a red marker and covered it, and now it has this somewhat reflective look to it, like the reflector on the door should have. The underside, I just followed the painting guide and the instructions. I didn't really see a point in going too wild with this because the screw heads will be there. They will be highly visible. If you are so compelled to, you could get putty and putty the heads over, sand them, and then paint them to hide them. I really did not go crazy with any concern under here because the tire backs will be just the rubber disc of the tire, so there's not going to be any wheel or caliper or period, any kind of detail back there. So this was just to give it a little bit of color separation. And one of the things I tried to show too is, looking back again at these door panels, is color separation using like SemiGloss and Flat Black. And again, I hope the camera is really capturing it, but here you can see the tone of the black of the plastic, the flat black, and then the SemiGloss black. So you do get that contrast. Wherever you introduce contrast in your paint scheme, you will help highlight detail. So the more your colors blend together, the more the detail will be difficult to see, and you really have to sit there and study it to start seeing things. Okay, so another thing I did, which was all sorts of extra, was dealing with this big clear piece for the car. Now you could just take this and stick the whole thing in there and call it a day, but this piece, like a lot of the other pieces in the kit, has really nice mold detail. In fact, I can honestly say I wish some glue kits that I've done had as much mold detail as this piece has, because it would make doing these window borders easier, you know, because there's actually a little ridge running all along these windows. Made it real simple to go in there with the Sharpie and just outline them. Typically I do that with paint, but it's a delicate task. And if the molding is there, I will resort to using the Sharpie. Not that I have anything against using markers, but I don't know, I just like the idea of that. I went in and did it by brush, and then I went back and did the gray. Now I showed how when painting clear parts in particular, paints will often not cover the clear, but if you do your surface coat and you're able to paint the back as well, it'll add a little more depth to the color and you'll have a better coverage when it's done. All the gray, I had to do 2 coats, but you know, it's a nice solid looking color. But then for the dome light, you know, I had this idea that popped in my head while I was working with it, that I was like, you know, if I scratch off the paint, it's going to scratch the clear, but then it'll look frosted, and most dome lights in our cars are frosted. Then I'll scratch off the gray in the back and just put some white on there, and there we go. We now have a dome light detail. So, you know, it's just a little thing, but very simple to do, and there it is. And last but not least, you know, doing some decals. Because the kit comes with the water slide and the self-adhesive, I did go with the water slide for these 2 parts, the instrument cluster and the VW logo on the steering wheel, because with the water slide decals and this Mark Fit solution, if you ever decide to get into dealing with water decals and you come into the hobby, get yourself a bottle of this. This stuff is like magic. It's awesome, because not only will it help the decal stick where you originally want to put it, but as it dries, the decal is almost like shrink wrap, going to settle down around every little detail that you see in there, and you get a very good adhesion on the decal for 1, and 2, the wrinkles and stuff will go away. And once the decal is dry, I usually usually if it's like a very textured surface underneath, I'll put some more on there, and you can do several rounds of application over the decal, letting it dry in between, and slowly but surely it'll sink in, and it'll suck down right to every little detail on there. And that's that. So at this point, I'm going to start doing the assembly, which you know, shouldn't take long at all at 35 parts. So we'll see how that goes. Just forgot to mention the body. You saw I went around with the black marker and did the door seams and around the gas tank, hatch for the gas fill. And again, that's just to give a little definition to it. The silver that I did where the turn signal decals are going to go, again, I don't want the decals on the blue because the water slide decals are a little translucent and they will be affected by the background color. So by putting the silver on there, that will, one, brighten up the decal, and two, that metallic look will show through the decal, and it'll look good. So if there was a theme to all of this that I was doing, and I pointed out one time with the underbody before, and this, whether you're dealing with a kit with 30 parts or 300 parts, you know, before you start doing anything, I can't stress enough, study your parts, study your instructions, understand how pieces are going to go together. That will greatly assist you in figuring out how you want to do your paint scheme, when to do the painting versus the assembly. You know, for instance here, you'll see there's sloppy gray all over this area, and that's because of the instructions that I knew the door card is going to sit in there. So once I push the door card in, that gray is all hidden away. You're never going to see it. So same here up front. I didn't touch any of that up because you're not going to see it. So why worry about it? So these things can help guide you through, you know, detail you want to do in certain areas. Like on the doors, I know all of this is going to be quite visible, so I figured I'll work it up, put some detail on it. Obviously, the dashboard is always, you know, a good center point of detail for interior. And there you go. You work it all out. Okay, so that's enough of that. I'm gonna put this thing together. Alrighty. Okay, so up to the last step of this build. Now, normally, I don't show the kit until I do my final build reveal in its finished state, but doing things a little bit differently with this build, so here we go. Now, obviously, the kit is done. I had talked about doing a clear coat. Now, with the kit, with the nice gloss finish on the plastic, why would you do a clear coat? Well, two reasons. One, we have quite a few decals that went on, and we want to make sure that those decals do not get dry and brittle over time and start to flake off the car. So by clear coating over them, this will help seal them and protect them from that problem. Two, plastic without a clear coat over time will start to lose its sheen. I don't know if it's reacting to the oxygen in the I have no idea. Get a material scientist to explain that one. But I have found, when I was much younger and I would buy kits molded in color and I did not paint them and did not clear coat them, that over time the plastic kind of got this whitish haze to it, and they just looked chalky and terrible. So usually I would, take those models and just chuck them, because that was my mindset at the time as a young lad. Anyway, so how are we going to clear coat this thing? Now, you can buy spray clear coats and spray them on. If you get like a Tamiya clear coat or, a hobby clear coat, it will be a little pricey. You'd be looking probably upwards of $7 or $8 a can, and that might cover you for 3 models or so, and then it's done. So an alternative, and this is probably like I say sometimes, worst kept secret on the internet, on YouTube among hobby channels, is this Pledge floor gloss. It's basically an acrylic clear coat. Now, Pledge seems that they are not making this anymore, but I am sure there are other people who make a similar product, so you may have to do a little looking. This used to be just a few dollars for a bottle like this, and this will do you probably more models than you could build in half a lifetime. But it's no longer available in like big block stores, at least that I've seen. I had to get this off Amazon, and the price had already jumped up quite a bit because, hey, supply and demand, and, well, you can fill in the blank on that. Now, this stuff, what's nice about this is it is so easy to use. So you just take a brush, dip it in there, and brush it on. Now, before I coated the car, I did go with a little bit of glass cleaner and just clean up the car to get off fingerprints and things like that. You may notice on some hobby channels, people only touch their models with plastic gloves on. I'm a supervisor in an infectious disease laboratory. I have to wear gloves all day long. I am not wearing gloves for my hobby time. So that's my choice. But that means when I want to do a clear coat, I do have to make sure I am not going over fingerprints with the clear coat, because then they will be there. Also, when you're doing decals, water slides, in particular self-adhesive decals, like I did for the license plates and the D for Deutschmark, for Deutschland, they will not adhere well, if at all, to oil from your fingerprints. They will start to curl up and just fall off. So you will need to clean that up before doing those decals. So let's do some clear coating. Now, the base here, this is actually the base I made for when I do my final build segment. I have a blind I pull down to cover this up, so you get a little behind the scenes look too. But I like to do my clear coating on top of these, on top of the stand, because it gives me a nice platform. Now, you can just brush this on. It is self-leveling, which means there will be no brush marks when it dries. And you can go right over your clear parts, you can go over everything and no problems. And just going to keep brushing this on. The only thing you would want to avoid, if there was something that you intentionally painted in a flat color and you would like to keep that flat, then obviously do not paint it, because this does impart a gloss finish. Likewise, you want to keep it off your tires because you don't want super glossy tires. That would look pretty silly, I guess. But you can see here from what I'm doing, and you just slather it on. Now, I have done this with most of the builds I do, and I usually don't talk about it when I do it, because it seems like a pretty simple and basic thing to do. So I don't really make much issue out of it. And also how people like to finish their models, what type of glossing they want to do is a bit of a personal preference. So I, for one, am not a particular fan of making my models with a super glossy finish. Now, some people, when they do their kits, they do these, really incredible paint jobs where they go in there and they're buffing and polishing and using special waxes and all of this stuff. And yeah, the models, the finish, it's like a mirror, and it's impressive to look at for the effect they achieve. However, I feel that, at least looking at my models in front of me, if my models were that glossy, I think they would look less real instead of more real. Now, I also am not building, like exotic sports cars and things like that. They're neat machines, but they don't particularly interest me in terms of a build, because I do like to be able to see the mechanical workings of a vehicle in my kit. And a lot of modern sports cars, particularly the supercars, or the hypercars, whatever you want to call them, everything is covered up with shrouds and aerodynamic elements, to improve airflow and all this, which means you really can't see much of the engine or the suspension or anything for that matter. And I'm not too big on that. So I'd much rather build like an older style car, like a gasser or something, where you got engines hanging out and everything is kind of crazy, ridiculous, mechanically raw. But again, that's to each builder's preference and how you decide to finish it. Now, this stuff I found as well, and I talk about this in I think my second video I did for the channel, which was basic techniques for doing your builds. And I talk about bottle painting and spray painting and all this kind of stuff. But I do talk about this clear coat as well. Because, and now it's done, because this will also restore paint jobs if they get chalky and crappy looking. And I did show one kit I did, which I can't reach without hitting the camera right now, where I had left the kit sitting by a window and the sun had bleached out the black paint, and I put one coat of this on there, and it was like one of those TV commercials where something is instantly restored. But yeah, good stuff. So like I said, this particular may be getting hard to find, but I'm sure there are other products like it. As you can see, it doesn't make paint run, it doesn't affect the decals, and it's just such a simple one-stop solution. It doesn't leave brushstrokes. It doesn't do anything. And if you remember in the very beginning, I talked about a scuff on the top of it. Now, some of the scratch is still there, which I'm not going to worry about, but there was about the size of my thumb, a big scuff mark that was dull. And that's basically gone now. So there we go. All right, so that's that. Kind of spoils the final build reveal, but next up will be the final build reveal and my final impressions of this kit. Alrighty. Alright, and here we go with the final build reveal of the Revell Easy Click System new VW Beetle. Alrighty. And boy, let's just like the car I was showing in the last video segment. So anyway, yes, it's all done, and now we see our finished product. I did go back and do a second coat of the clear on there, just because I missed a few spots, and to give it a nice even finish. But other than that, I did not do anything else other than one thing to fix a mistake I had made, which when I was putting the kit together, I gotta admit I was so excited and curious to see how this would look when it was together, that I popped the glass in and never checked to see that I had the windows properly painted for the black. And I realized there were big gray spots, especially around the side windows here in the back, where you could see the gray sticking through. So I did go back with my brush and cover some of that up to fix that. But otherwise, there it is. It is as you see it. Now, big question is, in starting this off, there were two things I was really looking at with this kit. Was how it would be as a first-time build for someone. And on that count, I would say, hey, thumbs up. The detail in the parts is really great. The kit goes together without any problem whatsoever. The pieces fit well. As I said, they have nice molding detail on them. The finish of the plastic. Now, yes, I did clear coat the body, but you saw in the beginning when I embossed it, it already had a nice gloss on it. The color rendering in the body is beautiful, and I believe the camera is capturing some of the like metal flake appearance to it, which I got to tell you is something I really have not seen done to this level of quality in a model before out of the box. So definite, thumbs up to Revell on that one. So if you're looking to get into the hobby, this is an ideal way to go in, because at 35 parts, it builds quickly. Indeed, the night I put it together, which I think I spent about an hour and a half, cutting the parts and cleaning them, plus fiddling with the video, starting and stopping and whatnot. And I basically had it together minus the decals. So that's like 1, 2, 3. And even if you do not want to do some of the detailing I showed, you will still end up with a nice looking kit, because it is molded in color, and you will have that when it's done. And certainly that it comes that way, it sort of begs you to try to do a few things. And getting into the hobby new, I think that's really important, so that you don't stare at it and wonder, oh, what could I do, or would that work? You can do a few little things, and you already have a noticeable result. So second perspective or accounting that I was looking for on this was to look at it as, okay, let's say you've been building kits, and you're comfortable with building and doing some detail work. Would this still be an enjoyable build? Does it still offer possibilities to do things and build up a nice detailed kit compared to what you would be accustomed to building in, higher parts count glue assembly kits? And on that count as well, um, you know, thumbs up. So it definitely can give you a nice building experience. I have to say, I really enjoyed building this. The little bits of detailing I did that I showed in the video, they were simple things that I thought really complemented the final appearance of the kit. And I'm really happy with the way it came out. I feel like I can put this on my shelf next to my glue assembly kits and not have it sitting there, as an obvious, oh, this is the snap together kit. It's not going to be like that. You can put that next to your glue kits and it will stand with them and still look good. Obviously, when you start to scrutinize this closer, there are certain things, the screws on the bottom as the biggest giveaway. The fact that it is, essentially a curbside kit where the hood does not open to give you any engine detail. While there are quite a few glue assembly kits that, curbside kits that don't do that either, they tend to have a little bit more of a refined detail to them when you really start to scrutinize them, that this will not have by nature of 35 pieces, and that is what it is. Again, the biggest place you would recognize that is in the underbody, because even though this underbody, it's just that one big plate and it is molded with a lot of detail in it, you will end up with the two big screws. You do not have any inner wheel detail. You just have the rubber disc of the tires, so you won't have brakes and calipers. You don't have individual suspension elements because it is all molded. So, in that regard, that's why I say when you start to scrutinize it, it will become clear that this is a lower parts count kit. But like I said, and really to the point, it doesn't look junky. It doesn't look toy-like. It has a nice build when it's done on the shelf, and even the quality of the fit. Like if you look along the door seams here, where this is the body, and then you can see there's just a tiny gap to the interior door card, and you know what? That's a real nice fit. I've done quite a few glue kits where you don't get that. You have to work it to get it to come in tight like that. But here, boom, right out of the box. So there you go. That's my summation of the kit. So, if you're looking to get into the hobby, great place to start. If you've been building kits and you're looking for, let's say, you want to do a simple build, if you're coming off something like the last build I did, which was the Unimog RW1, this was at 240 odd parts. Sometimes after you do a bigger project, you'll want to do something a little simpler, and just have something quick that you can still make into a nice presentation and be done with it. So this fits that to a T. So like I said, thumbs up all around on this kit. Really highly recommend it. Wherever you are in your hobby experience spectrum, I think this will certainly give you a fun and enjoyable build. So that said, let's try to get a little bit of a closer look at a few things. The interior I talked about. Of course, on camera, it is a little difficult to see because of all the black in there, but all that detail work is in there. Like I just showed, the underbody does not have a whole lot to see, but it's a neat little machine. Our new VW Beetle build here. So I will wrap it up with that. And as always, thank you for watching. If you find this was of help to you, please do consider subscribing, liking, hit the alarm button, share, all the YouTube stuff I like to say. So that will wrap up this one. And happy 2023 to everyone. Here's the doorway to your new hobby for the new year. All right. So until the next one, enjoy your hobby, and I'll see you next time. Alrighty. Yes, I do let it go around one more time. I don't know why. I stopped talking, and I stare at the kit, and I figure, let's let it go around once more. Sometimes I put little snarky comments at the end of the video, but this time I'll just talk. Until now. I think now's a good time to wrap it up. All right. Thank you for watching. One last postscript. If you do like to roll your models, boy, this rolls like smooth as you could believe. All right.